Okay, now I just want to give you a fair warning at the beginning that this video suffers from quite significant issues with the sound quality. You won't be noticing them at the moment. It's new wireless microphones I've been testing out. They work fine if I face this direction. However, when I turn around and do all the hands-on stuff, they start picking up loads of interference, and it will become quite noticeable at points in this video. I've tried to edit around it as best as I can, but yeah, it's pretty irritating. So if that is the kind of thing that would really drive you potty, I would suggest not watching this video. I thought about going back and trying to reshoot some bits, but it was never going to be that kind of video. It's just supposed to be an update to an earlier one. So my real choice was either just to shelve it or put it out as it is with the audio issues intact. So that's what I'm doing, but now you know. Now the thing that I'm showing in the video is the Coturn CT-01. You might remember this. This is a portable rechargeable record player. I backed this on Kickstarter in February 20. It arrived in September 21. I made a video about it at the time. I was an early backer on Kickstarter. By the time I made that video, there were still loads of people that hadn't got them at that point, and it took quite a while after that, I think, for everyone to get hold of these. There were quite a lot of production issues, clearly, at the company. Of course, the event didn't help with this either. It was a small team, startup. You know, everything conspired to make this a problem, but they did battle through and eventually get the products to people. However, the one that I got and I featured in the video suffered from some faults. The speed was out quite significantly when it's playing 45 RPM records, but also, most importantly, the stereo was reversed. Left and right came out of the alternate sides because they'd put the wires into the cartridge incorrectly. When I tried to readjust these, the wires sheared off, so I ended up at the end of the video with a broken record player. After I made the video, I got in touch with them and sent it back for a repair. Now, it took a few months, but another one did arrive. At the same time, though, they emailed me to say, don't bother about the one we've sent you. We think it's going to have a fault because we've noticed our testing equipment isn't working properly. It's not going to be calibrated right. We'll send you another one instead. So I've just put it to one side. I thought, oh, never mind, I'll wait for the updated one to come out and maybe I'll make a video about that, just comparing the two. As it was, months passed, this extra record player never arrived. So towards the end of last year, right at the end of last year, you might remember that Audio-Technica brought out the updated Soundburger, which is a portable battery-powered record player with Bluetooth, but it was a limited edition. But since then, Audio-Technica, they went on to say that it's now going to come back as a permanent product. So really, the Audio-Technica Soundburger, which was the original record player in this kind of form, has come back and pretty much nicked the market from this thing. So I kind of forgot all about the Coturn. But then the other day, I got a knock on the door. There was a guy there wanted 95 quid import duty to drop off a box. And when I opened it up, it contained a new Coturn CT-01 with a note from the people saying that they'd updated it. It's got new improved software. The speed's better in this and various other things. They wonder if I could make a video just updating that early one just to show you what the differences are. So that's what I'm doing today. I'm revising the original Coturn video because that one, well, basically if you bought one now, you wouldn't be getting that product anymore. So I think it's only fair just to show you what the current product is. We'll also have a look and see if there is still a market for this thing in light of the fact that the Soundburger is now out and does a very similar thing. So let's have a look at it. I do like this all black version. It's a bit of a dust magnet, just like that one. The difference in colour happens on the platter, the arm and the base. This is aluminium, just like it was before. Nothing's really changed at all, just a different colour option. There are other options available on the website. We've got the little 45 adapter in the middle here that's also black, but we'll just pop that to one side. Now to turn it on, you push down here and the arm pops up like that, which is a very pleasing mechanism. It is a little bit delicate. You don't want to drop this down on the turntable though. It does have a detent there, so it stays in that position, but if you bring it up and around to this end, you get another one there. But any position between those two, you've got to be a little bit careful with. It also has a pull-out arm on the side here, if I can find it. There we go. Let me just pop a little white tack on the top there at the end on the turntable so you can see it spinning around. So there you go. 45, 33 1/3, and just tap the same button again to stop it. Let's do some tests. Okay, so I've got my test record. That's got a 3 kHz tone recorded on it at both 33 1/3 and 45 RPM. Those tones are going to be played into my test meter, and to make sure this is calibrated properly before we start off, because of course a meter's only as good as its calibration, I've got a 3 kHz tone here. What should happen when I play this? They shouldn't vary at all. And as you can see there, nothing going on there whatsoever. Still on zero, still on zero. So we know that if you play 3 kilohertz into this, you get the result of 0. Let's see what happens when we play the record. Bit of dust on there, just get rid of that. Right, so it's the outer band that's the one to use on 33 1/3, so let's just move this around. Right, let's have a look at the results. Okay, first off, don't panic about the flutter. It's pegged the needle, but it's pegged the needle at 0.1%. You're not going to get 0.1% on a record player like this. Let's move it into the next one along. So we're looking at 0.3, so this will be the bottom row, 0.3, 0.2, 0.1. It seems to be hanging around, well, it's kind of moving down a little bit now, 0.15 to 0.2-ish, somewhere around there. On the left, speed. It's not moving, is it? And that's on 0.3. So if we're looking at that, the speed is dead on out of the box. Can't get better than that. Let's try it at 45 RPM now, see what the results are. It's running a tiny bit slow now. That's 0.15% slow. Really, 0.15% slow is absolutely fine. Now this over here on the right, the flutter, we're still on the 0.3 scale, so we're looking at the bottom row. And at 45 RPM, as you'd expect, because the thing's running faster, it's getting a better wow and flutter result. So we're looking at 0.1 really there, or just over. Yeah, so a lot better than before. They've definitely done something to it that's improved the results. Now, I've done these same tests in the Soundburger review, but just so we can keep it nice and neat, we'll do it in the same place at the same time. So I'll just swap the Soundburger over with this one. We'll see what the results are. Now, if you saw the Soundburger video, you'll know I adjusted the speed myself to get it pretty much 0. It seems to have drifted a tiny bit, but it's still not bad at all. As far as the flutter goes, here we've got 0.1% on the flutter, so a little bit better there as far as flutter goes for the Soundburger at 33 1/3. Let's move it into the 45 mode. Wow, what's gone wrong there? It's gone completely off the edge again. Let's put that down to 1%. I just had to triple check that there because I thought I must be doing something wrong, but no, this is accurate. The speed isn't accurate, that's the problem. 3% on the scale here now, so 3% at the top, 3% at the bottom. See where the needle is? That's round about 1.5% slow. Now in the video I did set it perfectly to 0, but it's drifted away from that. Now of course I could adjust it again, bring it back up to 0 again, but I wonder if it would drift again. Interesting. Anyway, I don't play many 45s, but still, if you did on this at the moment, they'd be playing 1.5% slow. As far as the wow and flutter goes, that's perfectly fine. We're looking at 0.05 to 0.07% wow and flutter. So yeah, brilliant wow and flutter, but yeah, the speed, whew, that's a problem. Right, so to summarise, when it comes to the wow and flutter, the Soundburger edges it. It's not a massive difference. The Coturn has by no means embarrassed itself. It's very close, but yeah, the Soundburger is a little bit better. However, when it comes to speed, the Coturn is definitely the winner. Remember, when I got the Soundburger, I had to adjust the speed on it out of the box. It was inaccurate. There's a pot for both 45 and 33 on the bottom that you can adjust with a screwdriver. If you've got the right equipment, you can get it. So it's pretty much perfect, and that's what I did. And now, when I come back to it, the speed has drifted away from that score again. Now, as far as the wow and flutter goes, if you're unfamiliar with it, that's a wobbliness in the audio. The kind of thing you'd notice if someone was playing a piano and there was a sustained note, you'd notice a wobbliness on the sound. I don't think you'd have a problem with either of these, given the results I've shown on there. But, you know, if people are incredibly sensitive to this kind of thing, maybe they would notice. But to me, both of these are all right on wow and flutter, but the Coturn wins it on the speed. Now let's just talk about portability for a second. First off, the Coturn. To put this one away, you move the little arm section in on the edge there, move that back into position, push it down, click it into place. That's it now, it's closed up. And you can also get a carrying case for it. I think they're supplying these with them now, and it just slides in there like that. One thing with the carrying case, it's very hard to get it out of there once you've got it shoved down, but you know, nice to have a hard carrying case. So that's that one put away. Now as far as the Soundburger goes, well, pretty simple. Just put the arm back in the middle here. You have to pop that on there first of all though, and then rest that in it. And also, you might want to put your stylus cover on the end here to protect that. So you need to carry that around with you if you want to do that. And then you might also want to lock that arm into place while it's being moved around. I mean, it's your choice, but there is a screw thread in the back for it, so you need to carry this thing around with you as well if that's what you want to do. But there you go. It's a pretty neat setup once you've got it all closed up. But now, just to show you how I think the stylus isn't as well protected in the CT-01, I've got the non-functional one out here. So we'll just get the arm out, we'll get the extension out on the side there. So it holds itself in position like that, and up here like that. But I'm concerned about what happens if you just knock it off its rest there. The stylus comes crashing down on the turntable like that. You can see we're bashing around on the stylus. So if you were to knock this, that stylus is getting destroyed now. So let me just show you how the Soundburger would cope with that. So again, we'll just open it up. We'll take the arm off its rest. I'll even take the stylus cover off here. And if I just tip this now like that, you'll see that the stylus is still getting protected because it's not actually bashing against the turntable. Now, of course, if I was to bring it over here and drop it, yes, it would land on the stylus, but it does have a little bit of built-in protection there, where your stylus, if you knock it off that rest position, it just stops short of hitting itself. And talking of styli, or to be more accurate, cartridges, they're both using the same ATN 3600, so they should have pretty similar tracking forces. We'll do a measurement to find out, and then after that we'll play a bit of audio through both devices to see if you can notice any difference in sound quality between these two. So first off, we'll put the stylus down in the middle of there, and we're getting around about 3.5 grams, which I think is pretty similar to what I was getting when I tested this before. So let's move across to the other one. Alright, same record. Same scales, same cartridge, down in the middle. Ooh, 4.5. Try that again. It's a bit heavy, that. Right, now this is the reason the video was taken down and re-uploaded, because I had to redo this section. The reason being, when I measured the tracking force, I was doing it wrong. Apparently, this is a spring-loaded arm, which is something that I was unaware of. A spring-loaded arm is very dependent on the height at which you measure the tracking force. It's designed to provide the right amount of tracking force at exactly the height of a record, in this case for this cartridge somewhere between 2.5 and 3.5 grams. By measuring it with scales just above there, I'm getting the wrong results. So what I need to do is to measure it again at exactly the height of the record. So even though this is perhaps 1 millimeter higher, it's not going to give me the right results. So to be able to raise it to the exact right amount, I'm stacking up compact discs here. That's just a little bit shy still. I'll put another couple in there, see how that goes. What I want is a completely flat lip between the edge of the record and the scales there. And that looks just about right to me. So what I'm going to do now, we'll take the record off, and we'll bring the scales into a point within the normal dimensions of a record, and then we'll do this measurement again. So let's have a look at this. Okay, well now I'm getting 4. That is not 2.5 to 3.5, still too high. Let's just take one CD out to see how much difference that makes. So that's 3.7. Okay, another one out. See, that'll be right now. And let's just see what height that is compared to a record. Okay, well clearly the record now is higher than the platform on the scale. But if I put the stylus down on the scale, I'm getting around about 3.4 grams. Whereas at this higher position on the record, that was reading around about 4 grams. So I'm not getting the results that Coturn want me to get with this. It's not as bad as what I first thought it was though. It just shows you the tiny differences in height that you need to be able to adjust that tracking force. Now most of the records I've got are going to hit a content match. This one won't, so I'm going to play you a little bit of this. So let's have a listen. I did the review of the Soundburger, the number one complaint in the comments was regarding the fact it didn't have a wired headphone output. What they intended you to do was to use Bluetooth headphones. Unfortunately, the Bluetooth codec standard they equip this thing with is just SBC. Now, when it comes to the Coturn, well, if you want to connect up Bluetooth headphones, it's got aptX in this. But you can also just plug them in with a wire, like I have done here, because on this one, if I just start it up, we do have volume control on here. So yeah, if the wired output really was that much of a big deal to you with regard to the Soundburger, well, there is an alternative in a very similar form factor. However, it's going to cost you quite a bit more. And perhaps this is the best time to talk about what you get for your money with each device. First off, the Bluetooth codecs. While the Coturn uses aptX and the Soundburger uses SBC, if that SBC bitrate hasn't been hobbled to improve reliability of connection, there's likely to be very little difference between the two. Of course, I don't know how the SBC has been implemented, which means the aptX performance is more of a known quantity because it uses a fixed bitrate. It's just worth pointing out, though, that this is not aptX HD, just regular vanilla aptX. More tangible is the fact that the Coturn has two mini jack outputs, the line out on the back and the headphone out on the side, whereas the Soundburger only has a line out. The construction of the Coturn looks and feels more premium. Back in the day, the original Soundburger was often dismissed as it looked like a toy. Now, I know it's a small thing, but having a carrying case is a good idea for a portable object that you might shove in a backpack, although I suppose at some point someone could come up with a third-party one for the Soundburger. But now here's the kicker, the price. I'm going to use euros here, as this is the only price that's listed on the Coturn website, and that price is currently €449, whereas the Soundburger costs €229. The Coturn, therefore, is almost double the price of the Soundburger. Now, you'll notice in this section there are 5 things that you can tap. Originally, there were 6. To the left of the Bluetooth there was a Wi-Fi symbol. Once you activated Wi-Fi, you could connect this up to your network. I suspect the reason it's missing is because they've changed the innards. The original one used a Raspberry Pi, and I think in here they've probably taken that out. But let's have a look inside. Yeah, there's just 4 small Phillips head screws to take out, and these are the things that you need to remove if you were to replace the battery cells in here at some point as well. But with those removed, they should just now lift off very easily. There we go. Yeah, you can see how the speed's regulated. The turntable here, the platter, it's got holes in the bottom. Yeah, so we've got a light down here shining through those holes. So of course that's getting measured and the speed adjusted accordingly. So it's quite a bit more sophisticated than the internals of the Soundburger. Yeah, so initially they look quite similar. The first thing you notice though is the Raspberry Pi is no longer in the newer version. The functionality of that has been integrated into the circuit board. But when you look a little bit closer, you realise that there's a lot of components that have changed between the two. Even on the left here, where you've got the platter, the batteries, that looks much the same, but look down below it, you'll see big empty spaces where there are a lot of different components here. There were pogo pins on the board at that point. There's a load of stuff down here that's no longer necessary. This bit here is very complicated and elaborate. A number of different chips on there, all rationalised down to something a lot simpler on this one. So yeah, it is a complete revision, really. Right, so there you go. I hope the sound issues weren't too annoying for you there. I tried to cut around as much of them as I could. In doing so, though, I ended up snipping a few bits out that I really wanted to keep in. So I'll just mention here, you know, the bit where I was banging the stylus around. I'm sure some people will be getting quite upset by that. I'll mention this one here. This is the replacement for my original one that they sent me that I kept in storage for a year. This is the one I was banging the stylus around on. It doesn't work. I don't know why. When they sent it back, I just put it into storage, waiting for that other one to come. Didn't arrive, so when I got the Soundburger, I thought, well, get this out and do a side-by-side comparison. It just wouldn't work at all. I ended up taking the batteries out of here, charging them externally. I put some in that were out of another device, but whatever I did, it just showed no signs of life at all. So I don't know what the fault was with it, so I'm glad they've sent me the replacement for this, because this is going back to them. They've actually asked to have this one sent back. So no doubt they can have a good look at it. But yeah, I've got this other one here. It's very slick. It is a fingerprint magnet though as well. But yeah, just to summarise this, whether or not the premium quality of this, the improved Bluetooth, the headphone socket, those are things that make it worth the extra beyond the price of the Soundburger. Well, that's just down to the individual who's choosing between these two devices. I'm not going to suggest which one you should get. That's down to you if you want either of these. For me, I've got both of them, and I don't think anyone needs both of them. And if I had to choose between them, I think I'd probably get the Soundburger just because it's cheaper and it does much the same thing for me. But for other people who are really into the headphone socket, it was a big deal in the comments. It was like the #1 thing. I must have a headphone socket. Well, there you go. There's a similar looking thing with a headphone socket. Or you could just stick a headphone amp on the other one. But anyway, there you go. That's it for the moment. As always, thanks for watching.